the epic Greek siege of Troy, and see if I can outsmart the city's defenses. In this video, you'll explore the fascinating story of the Greeks and their strategic assault on Troy, a tale filled with deception and bravery. The Greeks faced a formidable challenge: how to breach the heavily fortified walls of Troy after a decade-long siege with no success. The city was virtually impenetrable, with walls so thick and high that even the most skilled warriors couldn't scale them. The Greeks had tried every tactic in the book, from frontal assaults to tunneling under the walls, but nothing seemed to work. They were stuck in a stalemate, and morale was beginning to dwindle. The Greeks knew they needed a new plan, something that would catch the Trojans off guard and give them the upper hand. But what could it be? They had exhausted all their options, and time was running out. The siege was taking its toll on both sides, and it was clear that something drastic needed to happen if the Greeks were going to emerge victorious. As they pondered their next move, an ingenious idea began to take shape in the minds of the Greek commanders. It was an idea so bold, so audacious, that it just might work. One of the key players in this plan was Odysseus, the cunning king of Ithaca. He was known for his cleverness and strategic thinking, and he was the perfect man to lead the charge. Alongside him was Achilles, the greatest warrior of the age, and a host of other skilled fighters. Together, they hatched a plan that would require stealth, cunning, and a lot of luck. But would it be enough to take down the mighty walls of Troy? The Greeks were about to find out. As the plan began to take shape, the Greeks set to work, constructing a massive wooden horse in secret. It was a gargantuan task, requiring hundreds of workers and an enormous amount of materials. But the end result was well worth it: a towering statue of a horse, its wooden flanks gleaming in the sunlight. The horse was an offering to the gods, or so it seemed. In reality, it was a Trojan horse, hiding a secret that would change the course of history. Delve into the details of the Greek strategy, including the construction of the famous wooden horse and the psychological tactics used to deceive the Trojans. The horse was the centerpiece of the Greek plan, a masterpiece of deception and misdirection. But it was only half the battle. The Greeks also needed to convince the Trojans that they were abandoning the siege and sailing home. This required a level of psychological manipulation that was unprecedented in ancient warfare. The Greeks knew that the Trojans would be expecting a final, desperate attack, but instead, they would get a clever ruse. It was a high-stakes gamble, but one that the Greeks were willing to take. The construction of the horse was a marvel in itself, requiring an enormous amount of skill and craftsmanship. The Greeks worked tirelessly, day and night, to complete the massive statue. And when it was finally finished, it was a sight to behold. The horse towered over the landscape, its wooden flanks gleaming in the sunlight. It was an impressive sight, and one that would deceive the Trojans into letting their guard down. As the Greeks pretended to abandon the siege and sail away, the Trojans were left feeling victorious and relieved. They had endured a decade of war, and finally, the Greeks had given up. Or so it seemed. In reality, the Greeks were simply biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And that moment would come soon enough, as the Trojans brought the wooden horse into the city, unaware of the danger that lurked within. Highlight the pivotal moment when the Trojans bring the wooden horse into their city, believing they have won, and how this moment sets the stage for their downfall. The Trojans were jubilant, celebrating their supposed victory with feasts and revelry. They had no idea that the Greeks were hiding inside the horse, waiting for the signal to emerge and take the city. The moment of reckoning was fast approaching, and it would be a sight to behold. As the sun began to set on Troy, the Trojans were in high spirits, celebrating their hard-won victory. But little did they know, the Greeks were about to unleash a devastating surprise. Under cover of darkness, the Greeks emerged from the horse, taking the Trojans completely by surprise. The battle was fierce and intense, with the Greeks fighting their way through the city streets. It was a bloody and brutal conflict, one that would decide the fate of Troy once and for all. The city was in chaos, with fires raging and buildings collapsing. The Trojans were fighting for their lives, but it was too late. The Greeks had the upper hand, and they would stop at nothing to claim the city as their own. As the night wore on, the sounds of battle began to fade, replaced by the cries of the defeated Trojans. Summarize how the Greeks' cunning plan led to the fall of Troy and its lasting impact on mythology and storytelling. In the end, it was the Greeks' cunning plan that won the day, not their brute strength or military might. The fall of Troy would go down in history as one of the greatest heists of all time, a testament to the power of cleverness and deception. And as for the Greeks, they would return home as heroes, hailed for their bravery and ingenuity. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to check out our video on other epic myths, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.